We're gonna hop right into it with A Bug's Life. I find this movie to be really kind of mid-tier. It's not a very memorable movie in any way, in my opinion. I didn't mind it. The best thing is that the little caterpillar dude kind of looks like a fleshlight. Have you guys seen the fleshlights they made out of the caterpillar dude? That shit is funny as fuck. Bug's Life is okay. I wouldn't say that it's insanely good or timeless or anything like that, but it's a solid movie. I think it's just a mid-tier movie. It's gonna go in the good category. I think the same could be said for Brave. I think Brave is just a mid-tier Pixar movie overall. It's not solid, it's not incredible in any way. It doesn't have anything that's like super insanely good about it, in my opinion. It's a solid Pixar movie overall. I'm gonna put Brave as well into the good tier. It's just good. All right, Cars 2. In my opinion, Cars 2 is probably the worst of Pixar movies, or one of the worst. I thought that Cars 2 had kind of a convoluted story. It didn't really like continue the greatness of Cars 1. I think that this movie kind of lives in Cars 1's shadows a little bit too. I'm just not a big fan of it. It just wasn't that great. It was eh. Honestly, I think it's the worst of the Pixar movies, and it goes into bad. We have Cars 3. This is a whole different like story, in my opinion. I thought Cars 3 was gonna be absolute trash. When I saw the thing for it, when I saw like the trailer for it, I thought it was gonna be shit. I thought it was just gonna be another fan service garbage movie. In my opinion, this was pretty good. It had a good, solid story. I liked it overall. I don't think it's as good as the original Cars. I don't think anything can come close to that. I'm gonna put Cars 3 as well into the good tier, top of good tier. Coco. I really liked Coco. I really did. It's one of the most underrated movies in Pixar movie cinematic universe. I really liked all the music in it. I liked the characters. I liked the colorfulness of it. I think it's underrated. I think that Coco goes into a great category. We got Cars. The original Cars. The original Cars, phenomenal. Phenomenal story. Lightning McQueen, one of the best characters in Pixar cinematic. Absolutely fantastic movie. Chick Hicks, we know, is racist, obviously, you know. But Cars, overall, the story is great. I love all the characters. I think there's no other place to put this but Timeless. Finding Nemo is not one of my favorite Pixar movies. I think that overall, like, the story is good. I think it's been done before for the most part. Nemo is a solid movie, but it's just not one of my favorites. It didn't really wow me. I think I'm gonna put it in good. Finding Dory, on the other hand, it just wasn't as good. Dory was just, it felt like kind of like a cash grabby to me. Just didn't feel like it had the same soul as a lot of the other movies. I think Pixar, in my opinion, should stick to original IPs. I think that most of their movies don't need a sequel. Work on original stories rather than like sequels, and I think that their overall quality would be better. I'm gonna put Dory into okay. So Inside Out, I think this is a very controversial movie for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like dealing with feelings and things like that. For a lot of people are tough. It's not something that they really want to go to the movies and talk about or see, which I can respect. I think that the animation was excellent. I thought the story was decent, but I don't think that it's top of Pixar movies. I think some people would disagree. I think some people have this rated way higher, but for me, I'm gonna put Inside Out in okay. Now we have Luca. I didn't like this movie. I didn't like it at all. Like, it didn't grab me like some of the Pixar movies do. I didn't feel invested in any of the characters. Some of these movies, like some of these characters from these movies are incredible. And they're like some of the best characters in movie history. Luca just didn't have that. But I think this movie was just okay. Now, this might be a bit controversial because I don't really like Monsters, Inc. I know it's very beloved by a lot of people, and I get that. I get why. I totally understand. I can't put it in Timeless personally, just because it's just not my type of movie. I think that it deserves to be up there with some of the better Pixar movies, but for me, I don't think it goes into Timeless. I think it just goes into great. Monsters University feels exactly like Finding Dory. It's like the exact same type of movie. It feels like a cash grab. It feels like they were just like trying to cash in on the Monsters Inc. name. That just goes into the okay category. Onward was the movie where mythical characters trying to like find their dad. I thought the missing dad story for the most part has been done bajillion times, and Onward to me just didn't do that good of a job as other movies did. I didn't mind the story for the most part. I didn't mind the characters, but it didn't really invest me as much. But I think that the world that they built for this movie and like the visuals of this movie bring it outside of the okay category and put it into good. Ratatouille, baby. Come on. You can't put Ratatouille anywhere else except for Timeless. It has to go to the top. Incredible story. Incredible characters. And the French chick was absolutely insanely bad. I loved her. I resonated with her from the beginning. I love this movie. Probably my favorite Pixar movie. Probably my favorite Pixar movie. I gotta put it above Cars. I think it is. I love this movie. I liked Soul a little bit better than Inside Out. I thought Soul was halfway decent. If there's any movie that made me cry in Pixar, it was this one. This movie definitely made me emotional. I love that they brought up more of adult concepts with death and like things around that. I like the character, even though he was kind of a sniveling little bitch sometimes. It was a solid movie. I'm gonna put it into the okay tier. Now we have Incredibles 2. The Incredibles 2, I don't think it was as good as Incredibles 1. I thought the visual look of the Incredibles 2 was so much better than Incredibles 1. I really like the story, but I think that the villain in Incredibles 1 was better, but I did like the story in Incredibles 2. I didn't think it was terrible at all. I don't think it's like a timeless movie. Incredibles 2 for me goes into great. The Incredibles, one of the best villains in all of Pixar. I love the villain in this movie. I love the story. I love the characters. Just a fantastic movie. To me, and now this might be a little controversial, The Incredibles is timeless. I mean, just for Mrs. Incredible's ass, just in general, it has to go into timeless, right? Turning Red, I can kind of agree. Somebody said in the chat that it was mid. I kind of agree. Over time, I think this movie will get better. It'll become more of a classic as time goes on. I feel like that's kind of like how it goes with all Pixar movies for the most part. But this movie right now, I don't think it's quite on the same par as some of the movies up here. I think it's very mid-tier, just good. Toy Story. When this movie came out, it was such a revolutionarily good movie when it came out. The original Toy Story is fucking phenomenal. Now, I will say that some of the animation in this movie is very dated now. It needs a remaster because I do think that Toy Story's animation is a bit dated. And that's like the only thing that I can say about Toy Story that's bad. And I think that Toy Story, it has to go into timeless. Toy Story 2 for me, it was not quite on the same level, but it was very close. It has a lot of the same characteristics as I'd say The Incredibles 2. I don't think it was quite up to the same snuff, and it kind of lives in the shadows of Toy Story original. I think Toy Story 2 goes at the top of great. I don't think it's quite timeless, but it's very, very good. Toy Story 3 though, I didn't enjoy Toy Story 3 at all. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my favorite movie. I thought that the characters kind of got like stale over a while. I think that personally, they could have ended it with Toy Story 2 and it would have been perfectly fine in my opinion. They tried to do too much. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it goes down any worse than the top of good. Toy Story 4 to me didn't feel terrible, but it did feel kind of like a cash grab. I don't think it needed to be made. As I said, like I wish Pixar just dedicated themselves to making original movies because that's where they do the best. That's where they shine. They don't need to focus on making sequels. But I think it just goes at the top of okay. Now we have Up. This whole movie, I think, could have been over in the first 5 minutes because I thought the old man died. Honestly, when I first saw this movie, I thought the old man died and it was going to be a completely different story. I think this movie is solid. It's a really, really well-told story. I think that the characters are excellent. I think that the concept is really cool. It was very emotional. I don't think it quite goes into timeless for me. I think it goes to the top of great. Now, Wally is fucking incredible. It's actually rated one of the best movies of all time, which is crazy to think. I love Wally as a character. I love the combination of Eve and Wally. Like, they play off each other so well. They're the juxtaposition to each other, and I love it. I love the underdog story. I cried in Wally. It was emotional for all the right reasons. I fucking love this movie. It goes into timeless. I think it goes above Cars. That is my list, though, guys, okay? That is the full Pixar movies list. This is my list. Ratatouille on top, dude. The best Pixar movie by a long way, in my opinion.